Alright, we're going to look at a different method now to create contours, and so what we're going to do is actually just go ahead and close this drawing. And open up a new drawing. And we should probably go ahead and save this right away, so we're going to go save it. I'm going to call this Lab 5B. So I've got that started. And we're going to actually use contours this time, which is a very common method of also getting surface data from some other source. It's not going to be as good as points or some of the other methods, but it is a viable option, especially if you may have older drawings and you want to be able to get those into a Civil 3D format. So what we're going to do is insert an older drawing into this drawing using the AutoCAD insert command. So what I'm going to do is type in I for insert, pulls up this dialog box, go to browse. You have to navigate to the location where you downloaded your files. I had one out there called 5X. Should kind of show you a little thumbnail like that. Under the insertion point, scale factor, and rotation, just make sure those are not checked. And under explode, make sure that's not checked as well. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And do a zoom extents, and you should see what you have as your surface. Not a surface, excuse me, but your block. This is actually a block in AutoCAD. If I click on it, it's all one object, which we will have to explode to utilize. But I don't like to bring those blocks in unexploded because they may have to be moved or something. So if that's the case, then I don't want to select everything. But you can go ahead and just select it, hit X, and hit Enter, then it'll explode it. Now we've got two types of objects here. What appears to be points, these actually are not points. These are old style points. They come from Sofdesk points, so these even predate Lion Desktop. And we have the ability to convert those over. And we also have these lines here that are 2D polylines. And if you're going to do any contour creation using polylines, they have to be a 2D polyline and they have to be at the proper elevation. So one of the things you always want to do is list some of them, and you'll notice that the Z value is constant, but it actually is at the proper elevation. I've gotten drawings from people where you had some were at elevation, some weren't, some were at negative elevation. Those are going to really give you a problem, so you might want to check through some of them just to make sure. I know that in this case they're actually all okay. And these points, as we said, don't exist. You can see there's no point groups, there's nothing over here. So we're going to create some points first, and we're going to go over here to points, and you'll notice there are convert land desktop points, convert AutoCAD points, and replace Sofdesk point blocks. And these happen to be Sofdesk point blocks. So what we're going to do is replace Sofdesk point blocks, asks you to select everything. You could just type in the word all and it'll grab everything and hit enter. And notice it replaced those with X's, so it did incorporate those now. We go over here, we look under the point groups, notice we have them there. And if you edit your points, you'll see that they all exist as good points. If you want to see some data associated with them, we can go to the properties, the basic styles being utilized. I'm just going to tell it to use point elevation description. And again, if we look at that now, we can see we actually have good Civil 3D points. So we're going to create a surface using two types of data this time, points and contours. And so we're going to go like we did last time, create a surface. Again, I can call this whatever I want. I'm just going to call this existing ground again. I'm going to change that to a 1 in 5 design. Okay. Notice our surface does exist, but it doesn't have any data in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is add points. So I'm going to go to the point group, add points. Okay, that. And notice we actually have a surface, and the surface is right there. There's its boundary. None of these contours have been incorporated into it yet. Okay, so we're going to go to contours now, add, and you will get this information. Now, there's a couple things about this that you should be aware of. First off, you can give your contours a description, like maybe source where they came from, those kind of things. The second thing is weeding factors, and these are important to understand. Your polyline is made up of vertices, and these vertexes are going to be able to have the ability to be utilized or stripped out, and the weeding factor will give you the ability to strip them out. If you don't want to lose your data, you don't want to strip them out. So the way this works is 15 feet between any three successive points. If it looks at that one, and that one, if the distance when it is added is less than 15, it gets rid of them. If we don't want to get rid of anything, I usually set that to 0. Angle kind of works the same way. Angle is looking at a deflection angle, so it'll take that line, and it'll look at the deflection angle between. If it's less than 4 degrees, it zips it out. If I don't want to get rid of it at all, I'm going to set that to 0. If you have lots of polylines with lots of vertices on it, on a big file, you might not want to do that. You might want to leave it at the factors, but if you do leave those in there, you're going to lose data. Supplemental works kind of the same way. It'll add points. If you have a really long polyline, every 100 feet, it'll put a new vertex in for you. And the middle ordinate basics is looking at a ball, just particularly on an angle. So I usually don't mess with these, but I usually change the weeding factors. So I'm going to OK that. Then it wants me to select contours. I'm just going to window everything, hit enter, and now my surface is combined. And what I have now is a good surface, I believe. One of the things I always like to do is compare my surface to the original surface. So I'm going to look at my contours and compare them. Now I've got the wrong interval here, so I'm going to go ahead and go to surface props, and I believe the other contours were 2s and 10s, so I'm going to go 2s and 10 design. And if we see any contours that are gray or the other green color, I believe, they're going to be different. Let me see, maybe do the different color scheme. Instead of using design, let's use background. Okay, so you can see if you see any green showing through, like I do a little there, that's showing me there's a little bit of a difference, but when you zoom up, you can see they're holding pretty true. So it's important anytime you're going to generate a surface from contours, always generate contours back on top of the contours and make sure they visually agree. You're going to get some inconsistencies, that's inevitable, but it's a very important process to make sure that they do somewhat agree. We could clean up some of the surface periphery like we did before if that's an issue. That contour may not actually be there on the original surface, and again, some of that stuff isn't important. If we did not incorporate these points, we would have had a really flat surface through here. So it was important to get those because what we've got going on here is a ridge. So I'm going to say that we probably got pretty decent contours. And let's just take a look at this in some 3D applications like we had done before. So let's go ahead and we'll click on our surface. Go to surface props. And I'm going to go ahead and set my design up, get into this. And what we'll do is let's take a look at our color banding. So we'll go to elevation, go to analysis, elevations. I'm going to make this rainbow again. I'm going to make that 12. Again, 3D faces because we want to look at this as a 3D view and exaggerate it. And let's try 5 this time. Might be a little high, but we'll see how that works. Okay, that. And you can see you've got a nice view there. It looks like it's going to give me good relief. So let's go to 3D orbit. And let's look at this. Actually, 3 didn't generate it too much, but you can definitely see how that surface is looking. And if we wanted to change a little bit of the look to it, visual style, maybe make it look conceptual, that gives me a pretty decent view. Not too bad. Visual style, maybe realistic. Okay, that'll happen sometimes. Alright, here's a case. Now, this is a good thing that this did this because I'll show you how we fix this. I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to take it back to a top view. And for some reason, and I've had this happen before, it will do that. So I'm going to take that back to 2D wireframe. Let's go ahead and do a save. Let's try to get back into that again, 3DO. I've had some problems with this lately when I'm doing some of those visualizations that it'll drop out. Let's see if I can do that again this time. Yep, realistic doesn't like that. Go ahead and exit out of there. Let's try this. Get rid of triangles, set it to elevations, apply that, and see if it'll come back. There it is. Okay, so I can go to 3DO and look at that. Now, the other thing that you can do is while this is in place, sometimes you can just change parameters on the fly. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that surface, go to the surface props, and I'm going to actually change the exaggeration while I'm looking at it like this view. So maybe 5 wasn't very good, maybe 8. It changed that up, brought it up a little bit, gave me a little bit more exaggeration. You can see that now. That really gives me a good model, and you can see this ridge really well here. Just nicely shows you what's going on with that ridge, and that would be a very easy surface to work with. And again, notice that this mound right here, because this is a ridge, that would actually not have been there without those points. It would have just triangulated straight across from top to across. So again, things like break lines, as we talked in the other lab, and things like points are going to be really critical as you get into this aspect. Okay, so if we're convinced we've got a pretty good surface, we don't need to do any edits to this, and I think that we've got a really nice view, what we're going to do is go ahead and take that back to top, take that back to 2D wireframe. And I'm actually going to knock out the color. That's a little bit intense, so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and go to the props, surface properties, and we're going to go back to display, toggle on the contours, and I'm going to toggle off the elevations. Alright, with our picture back to a plan view and our wireframe, what we're going to do is just generate a very quick profile just to give you an idea how this works. And we're going to be leading this in to the stuff that we're going to be getting into for profiles. So this is kind of a quick way of doing it, and then we're going to go a little bit more in depth next on our next lab. So I'm just going to generate a real quick 2D polyline down on top of this surface. Just want to kind of do an exploratory thing that's dealing with my profile. So if I'm kind of searching for maybe where I'm going to place a route, I could do that. So I'm going to generate a polyline. I'm going to type in PL for polyline, pick a point, and I'm not going to be real specific, so I'm just picking a point, generating another one, and saying, maybe I kind of want to look at a route like that. So remember, this is just an exploratory kind of thing. So I want to see kind of what's going on with that. So what we're going to do then is click on our surface, and some of the tools that you have over here are the quick profile and create a profile. So what we're going to do is do what's a very quick profile, and it creates a temporary profile view from a selected object, such as a feature line. You can use 2D or 3D polylines, lot lines, all kinds of things. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to select this guy, and it'll ask me, to select a surface if it's not already selected and all of that. I can give it a profile view style. We'll talk about the styles a little bit more, so you can probably just let it go with this major grids and HGPs. Go ahead and OK that. It'll come back and it'll ask you where you want to place your profile. This is an object, so I'm just going to bring him in. Very often get these errors. So it says this is a temporary object and will be deleted on a save command or an exit. So it's not going to be an existing kind of thing. But it's just, again, it's just an exploratory look. So notice this is called a profile view, and you can see at the bottom
There's stations associated with it where it's basically just calling that first point of the polyline 0, and it follows along in the horizontal distance out. This is showing you your elevation grid, and what we're seeing then, this is the existing ground line. And what's really nice about this is keyed to this line. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my polyline and I'm going to grip it. And as I move this, watch what happens when I notice that it changed over here. You can see, and that is actually linked so that if you make any change, it's absolutely reflecting all of those changes in real time. And when we get into the actual profiles that we're going to have, those are going to be dynamically linked so that a change here on your alignment will drive the profile. And some things on the profile can actually go back. So these things are really interesting how they work. Now this did say it's temporary, so if I do a save, notice it disappears. Okay, so they also have a way to create an actual profile, and this profile would not be based on a temporary setting. So you would have to have a surface alignment, so you could create a horizontal alignment, and that'll be a more permanent kind of thing. And we'll explore those in our next session. And that's it for this week's lab. So you can save both of those labs and submit them. I can take a look at them for you. And then we'll be working with surfaces and both design profiles and view profiles next time.